So hey guys, so since I'm about to basically be done with interviews, I want to take a quick break and tell you about, some common questions about Match and interview questions and how Match works. So basically, well, this year due to COVID, there was changes in how Match goes. So usually what happens is September 15th, actually on my birthday, all the Virgos in the house. So usually on September 15th, we have a opening of application cycles, and usually the application opens and you press submit on September 15th. From September 15th till about November, we have basically either secondary applications or the schools are still going through your application. And then around late October, early November, we start getting interview invites. And when we get interview invites, usually you get an invite, you go to the school. The day before, you have like an interview dinner with all the residents and the attending, and they take you out to eat. And then the next day, you have like a tour of the hospital, and then your interviews with multiple faculty, hospitalists, or even group interviews. So that usually happened from like 8 to 4 o'clock or 8 to 5. And then you either drive back home or you take a plane back home. And so interviews usually are like 2 days, but due to COVID and the travel restrictions, everything was done virtually, actually on Zoom. So usually for this year, instead of applications opening on September 15th, they opened like the end of October. So they opened like a month later, and immediately, as soon as we sent applications, people were getting interviews. So I got an interview invite, I got a secondary application the first time I hit submit, and then the second day I got an interview invite. So it was really fast. And so how they conducted the interviews was usually, so everything was on Zoom, or what they use a thing called Thalamus, which has like a Zoom application, but it's not actually Zoom. And so usually the times are from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And the day before your interview, you'll have like a resident meet and greet for about an hour or two, where you can chat with the residents and ask them different, different questions without the attendings and things of that nature. So you'll go ahead and ask them whatever you want, like living expenses, what do they do for fun, how's the communication between residents, and if there's other residents on that at that program, how's the interactions between those residents, how is the interaction between you and the attending. Like, it's a lot of questions that you get a chance to actually ask that you won't have the time to during the actual interview. So basically you're in a Zoom conference with other applicants, and we all have the opportunity to meet each other as well as meet the residents who are doing the question and answer panel. So that's usually 2 hours the day before your actual interview. And then if not, they'll do it the week of your interview. And so the interview day, like I said before, ultimately depends on how the institution and program wants to organize it. So sometimes it's from 8 to 12, and then sometimes it's from 1 to 4. Or you have some programs that do from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I've had a mixture of both. So majority of mine were in the AM, and some of them were in the PM, but I had at least 2 that were all day. So it varies. And usually how the interviews are set up is that they do a welcome, for Zoom anyway. They do a welcome, tell you about the program. The program director will come and speak with you, and everybody will have like an icebreaker. And then after that, you'll go into the individual rooms for your interview. And if it's not an individual room, what they'll do is they'll have a group interview with 2 or 3 other with 2 or 3 other candidates, and they interview you together. I've only had that happen once, but I know some other people had some other group interviews. And so during that time, they ask you like different questions like, tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself. What do you like to do for fun? So it also depends on what type of program, because I actually didn't have a program to ask me like, tell me how to diagnose hypertension, or tell me how, what are some things that you need to do in order if you're suspecting a GI bleed. Like, it wasn't like that. It was more so just trying to get to know me and trying to see if I actually fit the residents that are already there. So they asked me questions like I said, like, what do you do for fun? Tell me about an incident that it was difficult for you, or tell me about, I see that you were a scribe. Tell me about that. How did that help you decide to go to medical school? Oh, I saw you did a mentorship program in 2016. How did that go? Tell me, what are some attributes of a leader? Tell me about some challenges that you have faced that brought you to where you are today. And the quote unquote famous question, why this program? So you better know about that program, and you better know why you want to go to that program. Some other things that they like to ask, what are your strengths and weaknesses? And then they also like to ask, I'm trying to think of anything else. Why the specialty that you're choosing, and if you are doing a specialty, do you plan on staying there long term, or do you want to move? If you decide if you want to specialize, do you want to specialize in a particular thing? If so, are you interested in research? Have you done research? Can you tell me about the research that you have done? They also like to ask you, what are some things that you like about the city? Do you have any friends or family in that area? I already said, what do you like to do for fun? I remember, so one thing is, if you write it down, it's fair game. And you better know your application in and out. You're putting some random stuff on your application that you did not do, because they will go on the application and ask you little lines. Like, I remember I had one question about video games that was one line on my application, and they asked me what video games that I play. Like, literally one line. And that entire time we talked about video games, so that was cool. So, I mean, you're gonna have a lot of different personalities when you're interviewing. Some people would be like this. So, tell me about yourself. Why this program? Like, you'll have that, or you'll have someone like, yeah, so I saw that you did this, and so tell me a little bit about yourself. We do some things like that too. So some of them are like that, and some of them, like, they're not readable, like I showed you before. You have different kinds of personalities, but everyone, I mean, you're gonna have different personalities no matter where you go. So I wouldn't take it like, if someone is just like this, I wouldn't take it personal. They're just not like happy-go-lucky like I am all the time, but majority of the time. So don't take it personal. I'm trying to think of anything else that they like to add. Oh, do you have any questions about the program? So you want to make sure you got some questions about that program. And if you've done your research on the program, you'll have questions. And try not to make the questions like basic. Like, you don't want to ask questions that are obviously on the site. You want to think of questions that you really want to know the answer to, or something that you're interested in. So just don't say like, hey, how is your curriculum, when the curriculum is on the website. So don't ask questions like that. Other than that, we did interviews from about November to the middle of February. I know that some of my friends do have interviews like the very beginning of February, but basically everything else is going to be shut down. If you haven't not yet, you'll be getting this, sorry, you're not chosen. sorry, under our circumstances, you have not been chosen to be interviewed. We wish you the best of luck. So you've been getting this just like bombardment of emails of like, hey, we've closed interview season. Sorry you weren't chosen. So, I mean, you win some, you lose some. Be thankful for where you are, and just, and I'm sure that you may have not gotten all the interviews that you wanted, but you really only need one yes to say, hey, we really want you in your program. You only need one person to really fight for you and say, hey, I really want this person at this program. So with that being said, during interview season, I use this, my Take Note, which is full. I'm trying not to show you like where I interviewed at, but which is full of all notes from all the interviews. So during that time, I basically write the day of the interview, what happened on interview day, how long the interview was, their curriculum, some aspects that I really like about their program, some things that I don't like about the program, or how my interactions was with the residents or the faculty members, what are the things that we talked about. Because even though that the interviews were virtual, you still can get a sense of how people are. You may not be able to pick up on everything that you would traditionally when you're able to actually go to the hospital, but for the most part you can pick up where you think you would fit and where you would not fit at. So I suggest going to Marshall's and getting a $3.99 book to take notes, because after a while you're not going to be able to remember why you like the program. I mean, of course, if you're your top program, then of course you're going to remember it, but once you start going through a lot of interviews, you're going to start forgetting, and all of them are going to blend together. So I suggest writing it down, just so you can remember. So when rank opens in February, that you know exactly how you want to rank your programs, because trust me, you're not going to remember unless they're like your top program. Then you'd be like, I know I want to go here, but other than that, you're not going to remember. And I mean, even though you may not get the program that you really wanted, trust me, you're gonna go where you truly and ultimately belong. Like, everything happens for a reason. And to be quite honest, I've had some surprises. I was like, whoa, like I didn't think I was gonna get that interview, and it was great. So don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself, because you are here for a reason. Thank God for his grace and the journey to get you here today. So I hope that I answered some of your questions. Rank opens in February, which you'll be able to rank the programs from first, second, third, last. And the program will also be doing their ranks from first, second, third, last of the interviewees, who they think they'll fit best with their program. And then match week, it starts on March the 15th, which is about 40 something days from now. And so on that Monday, you figure out if you matched or not. You get a yes or no, like, hey, you matched, woohoo, or no, you didn't match. So you can decide to go into SOAP. And from Tuesday to Thursday, you have basically SOAP, which is like a supplementary match, in which places that did not have all the residents take all the spots, there's opening spots. So then you would redo some of the you would go back through interviews, and sometimes I believe you have to redo your personal statement, just so you have a fresher application. And then you do interviews, and then from there they'll offer you a spot or they won't offer you a spot. And then say for instance you didn't go through SOAP from Tuesday to Thursday, on that Monday, if you got yes, on that Friday at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, if it's the traditional way, but this year at 12 o'clock, you found out where. So that's basically match and ERAS. So I hope that kind of gave you a little bit of insight of what to expect or what I went through during my interview season. And I wish everyone the best of luck, and I pray that everybody goes to where they truly belong and want to go to. And I'm so excited. So yeah, hopefully, I'm not gonna say what I applied for until match, and prayerfully and hopefully everything goes as planned. So yeah, I'll see you next time.